Far in the remote north of Canada, beyond the last lonely roads, beyond the rivers that freeze solid each winter and the endless forests of black pine stretching to eternity, there lies a place where nature feels older than time itself. A place both breathtaking and deeply unsettling. This is Nahanni Valley. A land that seems untouched, as if no human foot was ever meant to step into its shadow. The mountains that surround it rise like silent titans, and the cold wind that drifts between them carries a stillness that feels almost watchful. People say every land has a memory, a soul formed from every story it has witnessed. And Nahanni, no matter how hauntingly beautiful it may seem, has never been a land that welcomes strangers. For over 100 years, miners, trappers, and explorers marched into the valley chasing the same shimmering dream. Gold hidden beneath untouched stone, a fortune waiting for the bold. Yet dreams have a way of demanding payment. Some returned with trembling voices, speaking of nights so cold the fire refused to spark, strange cries echoing through the woods, and an unseen presence following just beyond the edge of the trees. But most never returned at all. What remained were only traces, burned-out camps, twisted rifles, charred bones, and bodies missing one thing that no creature should be without: the head. Thus the valley earned a second name, whispered with dread: the Headless Valley. Tonight we go back into that valley. But not for treasure, not for glory. We go back to ask a question that has haunted generations. Why do so many vanish in Nahanni Valley? And what or who waits in its shadows? Signs in the trees. Our story begins in late autumn, a season when fog drifts low across the tundra and daylight fades quickly behind a wall of storm clouds. A seasoned guide named Lefra led 2 RCMP officers deep into Nahanni. Their mission seemed straightforward: locate a young prospector who disappeared weeks earlier. A man who vanished so suddenly he didn't appear at his own wedding. Lefra wasn't the kind of man who feared the wild. He had survived blizzards, walked across thin ice that cracked under his boots, and fought off hungry grizzlies with nothing but instinct. But Nahanni was the only place he spoke of in a hushed tone. To him, the valley was not simply dangerous, felt wrong. A place where the rules of nature bent just slightly, where silence was thicker than it should be. The journey began quietly, too quietly. Wind whispered through black pines that looked like burnt matchsticks against the sky. A pale sun flickered behind clouds, struggling to shine through. Lefra walked ahead with slow, deliberate steps. He kept glancing upward, scanning the treetops. Not because he expected animals, but because he felt eyes, something watching from above, moving when the men weren't looking. Hours later they found the first sign: a rusted trap half buried in moss. Inside lay the decayed corpse of a lynx, uncollected, forgotten. To city men it meant nothing. To a hunter it meant everything. Someone set this, Lefra muttered, and never came back for it. But the officers dismissed it. Just an abandoned snare, they said. Nothing more. Lefra didn't argue, but the tension in his jaw said what he didn't voice aloud. Nothing in this forest is left behind by accident. As they continued deeper, more abandoned traps appeared, each holding a carcass rotting untouched. The silence grew heavier. Shadows lengthened as the sun lowered, and the forest, usually filled with distant rustling or bird calls, seemed to hold its breath. Lefra finally stopped walking. "We're entering a place we shouldn't be," he whispered, but the officers urged him forward. And so, with dread creeping up his spine, he continued. The boat in the ashes. That afternoon, the men followed a narrow creek whose surface was frozen in delicate glass-like patterns. Snow thinned as they moved forward, revealing dark mud beneath, a sign they were approaching the area marked on the missing man's map. Then, between the reeds, something broke the monotony of white and gray. A small boat, half submerged, half floating. its bow wedged against mossy rocks. Deep gouges ran along its wooden hull, long, jagged, unnatural. Inside the boat was nothing. No pack, no tools, no sign of a man deciding to leave willingly. It looked like a moment frozen in time, as if someone abandoned it in a moment of terror. No one spoke, but all three men felt the same chill. They followed the creek for a few more minutes. Then a smell drifted toward them. Not strong, not fresh, just a faint, unmistakable scent. Burnt wood. The remains of a cabin appeared through the trees, black and skeletal, its frame charred entirely. The officers raised their weapons. They scanned the area cautiously. But Leffler didn't look at the cabin. He looked toward the woods behind it, a thick curtain of shadow that seemed to swallow the dim daylight. Something was there. He didn't know what, but he felt it watching. Inside the ruins they found the missing prospector, or what remained of him. A body burned black, lying beside a rifle with a barrel twisted into a curve, as though bent by inhuman force. Near the body lay neatly arranged belongings, a backpack, a folded tent, several bundles of hide. Too neat, too intentional. Nothing about the placement of those objects felt natural. But there was something worse. The body had no head. Leffler backed away instantly. "We leave now," he said. "Anyone who stays after dark won't leave at all." The officers didn't argue. As they retreated, a thin column of smoke rose from the ashes, curling into the gray sky like a whispered warning. A pattern of vanishing. Ever since the early 1900s, Nahanni Valley collected stories like this. Stories that, when placed together, formed a chilling pattern. 1904, Frank and Willie McLeod, two brothers, returned from the valley with raw gold. They claimed to have found an untouched vein and swore they would return to gather more. The next year they went back. They never returned. 3 years later, a relative led a search party and discovered their old camp. 2 skeletons lay there, one seemingly asleep, the other reaching for a rifle. Both without heads. No signs of struggle. No blood. Just absence. 1910, Martin Jorgensen, a Swedish explorer familiar with the harshest cold on Earth, sent a final excited letter claiming he had found something big. He vanished soon after. A year later, his cabin was found burned to the ground. Inside was his body, headless. 1921, John O'Brien, a World War veteran, was found sitting beside a cold campfire, fully clothed, face calm, hand still holding a tin cup. No sign of fear. No sign of pain. Death that came quietly, inexplicably. 1927, Yukon Fisher, a massive man known for brute strength and stubborn will, disappeared next. What remained of him was only a towering skeleton, a rifle bent unnaturally beside it, and another burned-down cabin, eerily close to where the McLeod brothers had died. After these deaths, Nahanni Valley stopped being a place to seek fortune. It became a place avoided even by the bravest. Footprints would lead deep into the woods, and then stop mid-stride, as if the person simply ceased to exist. Something in Nahanni was watching, waiting, and choosing. The Naha and the land of the other side. To the Dean people, Nahanni was never empty. Long before Europeans arrived, the Dean called the valley the land of those on the other side. Home of the Naha, a tribe unlike any other. According to legends, the Naha were tall, broad-shouldered, mysteriously strong, and fiercely independent. They lived away from all other tribes, never traded, never welcomed guests. And they wore masks, strange, ornate masks, whenever they went to war. No one knows where they lived. No settlements. No tools. No graves. But the Dean elders swear their ancestors once heard war horns in the night, saw distant torches weaving across ridges, and felt the tremors of marching warriors moving through narrow mountain passes. Their method of punishing trespassers was chilling. not with arrows or spears but through beheading, not out of hatred, but as part of a ritual, an ancient rule carved into flesh, a warning that said, "You were never meant to be here." Some believe the headless deaths in Nahanni are echoes of the Naha, or the work of their unseen descendants, creatures lost in time. But the valley holds more than the memory of a missing tribe. Among the Deen there are tales of Wahila, a massive beast part wolf, part bear, large as a bison, silent as falling snow. It does not hunt for hunger. It hunts to protect something. In the 1970s, archaeologists uncovered mastodon bones buried beneath soot in a nameless cave. The walls displayed carvings, creatures too tall to be wolves, too lean to be bears. After the spring melt, footprints appear in the mud, deep, wide, and belonging to no animal known to science. Ask the locals and they simply whisper, "You shouldn't say its name." Then there are the Nuk-Nuk, hair-covered humanoids, moving in tribes, carrying crude weapons, feeding on human flesh. Few have seen them and survived. A handful of trembling witnesses spoke of distant fires flickering between the trees and the smell of burning meat, a smell not like deer or elk, but something else. One hunter returned, shaking violently. "I thought it was a man," he kept saying, "until it looked at me." And above the valley, strange lights appear. Objects hover silently. The ground shakes with no explanation. If Nahanni is isolated from the world, perhaps something else, not of this world, has chosen it as home. What waits in the dark? Even in the modern era, the valley's curse persists. 1945, Ernest Savard entered Nahanni chasing gold. Weeks later he was found lying peacefully in his sleeping bag. No wounds, no signs of struggle. But his head rested on a stone nearby, placed gently, deliberately. No suspect. No answers. Another case closed in silence. 1983, a traveler camping near the valley's edge heard faint groans from within the trees. Not animal. Not wind. Something human. When he approached with a flashlight, he saw a tall figure draped in dark cloth, wearing a mask carved from bone. It didn't run. It didn't threaten. It simply walked toward him as if it had been waiting a lifetime for him to arrive. He fled. He never returned for his gear. The only words he could manage later were, "It wasn't human, but it knew who I was." No official record exists. In Nahanni, survivors are often the only ones who ever see anything, and no one believes them. Nahanni is not a land meant to be mapped. It is not meant to be solved. Some places reject human understanding. Some secrets stay buried because the land itself buries them. And Nahanni may be one of those places. A valley where beauty is merely camouflage. A land that watches without hate, without mercy, and without blinking. And maybe all these are just myths. Or maybe they're fragments of a truth we're not ready to fully face. What do you believe happens in Nahanni Valley? Do you think something ancient still walks its forests? Something that guards what must never be uncovered? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe. Our next journey into the unknown may be even darker than this one. Thank you for staying until the very end. And hopefully, next time, we'll still be standing on the same side of the truth.